Hello there, Aries. Thank you so much for stopping by for your monthly in-depth tarot forecast. We're actually going to start this forecast on November 29th, and we're going to run it all the way through the end of December. But the first time frame we're looking at, I am breaking the time frames down into weeks. We've got like almost 5 weeks in December, so we're going to look at it that way. And so we're going to end with, I don't think we actually end with the last day of December. As my calendar falls into my hands. No, we'll actually end up with the first 2 days of January in this forecast as well. So that's what you can expect. Sorry about kind of figuring that out on the fly. Anyway, we're going to start with November 29th and go through December 5th. For this first time frame that we're looking at for you, Aries. Okay, my dears, let's look at your environment for this time frame. When I'm looking at your environment, and remember, environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. So for most people, it's home, but it can also be work, school, etc. There's some kind of truth that is coming out, and I think that this truth sort of takes you off guard or makes you feel vulnerable, whatever this fact is that comes up to the surface. And I think that whenever this does, you're going to find yourself doing some research about things that you can do to mitigate that vulnerability that comes up with this truth coming out. Subconscious leanings during this time frame. Okay, Aries, so there's something that you thought was over, some type of long-term stress or tension that you thought was over that is coming back up to the surface. And it may not be that anything actually has happened because we are looking at your subconscious leanings. It could be that you're just anticipating this and thinking about this. And it looks to me like you really have plans that if this does come back up, you are going to nip it straight up in the bud. You're not going to be engaging in this old thing that brought tension or anxiety into your life. You're going to be just completely wiping that out. Nice clean cut, basically, is what I'm seeing here. And I feel like it's going to make you feel better once you've done that, just to have that behind you. And I think even in your subconscious, you're picturing how much you would feel if you would just get that done. It almost comes to me like this may be a situation that you're thinking may rise back up again, and you're really thinking, you know what, I just need to shut the situation down forever. I need closure on this. I need to know that this is a done deal and that it's not coming back, that it's really truly done, done, done. And I think that you're feeling very strongly about that, actually. So that's subconscious leanings during this time frame. Next thing that we have showing up talks to me about two different things, your learning style and also your communication style. So, learning style, let's take a peek. I do think that you're finding out some information with the collaboration of other people. So you may be working together to do research. I mean, you could be, in a study group for school, or you could be digging for more personal type of information and have somebody helping you with that, kind of fishing for information as well. You could be asking about somebody through a mutual friend. That would be considered collaboration as you're doing research or looking for information. What else do we have going on here? I really get the sense that there is somebody who is feeding you information during this time frame, and the information that they're feeding to you is not necessarily accurate. They're giving you whatever it is that you want to hear. So you want to be careful about as you're talking with people, as you're communicating with people, what their ulterior motives might be as they're sharing information with you. You just want to make sure that that you don't have somebody just, feeding you a line of baloney just because they want something from you. Okay, so just pay attention to that. Just have a heads up. You guys are pretty sensitive and psychic as well. You guys know a lot of times whenever you've got BS coming down the walkway. So I'm not that worried that you won't spot it, but I guess I just want to give you verification that, you're not crazy if you start to notice that. You guys would be amazed how many readings I get where people come to me and they know exactly what's going on because their intuition has told them, but they think they're crazy because they have no physical evidence. Intuition is pretty solid, okay? And I feel like what you're picking up about this person and the information that they're feeding you, I think you pretty well know that it's a bunch of baloney. You are finding out information about things that you're interested in, things that you're curious about as well. So besides, I feel like this one where you're collaborating with somebody else to get information, I feel like that's researching a person. But this other information, and it may be that you're researching this person that's feeding you the line, but I think this other information that you're learning is stuff that it's just fun for you, it's interesting for you, your curiosity leads you there. Alright, so let's look at communication style during this time frame. There is a lot of emotion showing up in your communication style. I think that you're being very upfront, very honest about how you feel, at least with certain people. I also get the sense that with other people, you're being very closed off about how you feel. I don't feel like it's that you're not talking to them. I just feel like you just are holding back on letting them know how you actually feel. What else do we have for communication style? I do see some communication that you're going to a lot of trouble to make sure that it is accepted or that you're impressing somebody or convincing somebody of something. And I feel like with that communication, Aries, we may not be sharing the whole truth. You may just be showing the positive sides of things and really putting a polish on those things. This is the kind of communication that people often see whenever they're dating somebody new or getting to know somebody new that they want to date. It's just putting the absolute best foot forward, and there can be a little bit of pretend or creativity or illusion in that. So that's what I'm seeing for some of you. Part of your communication does have to do with this whole idea of letting people think certain things, or at least one person thinks certain things until you're ready to give them the actual details. Okay? La da da da. So that covers communication style. Next, what I want to look at for you during this time frame is work. Things are loosening up for you at work. Now, this could be manifesting one of two ways. Yeah, this could be manifesting one of two ways. I was just scanning the other cards to see if they would give me more hints which way we're going here. So you could be picking up more time, and as long as you're paid for time, you could be picking up more time at work, and that could be loosening up the finances for you. The other way that this could be loosening up is if you've been doing a lot of time, Aries, then the time may be slowing down to give you some more time for yourself. Okay? Whichever way is going on, whether you've got more money or more time here, I think you've been sort of waiting for, expecting, hoping for this, and I think that you are taking full advantage of this. Now, I don't feel like you've got plans for how you're going to take advantage of this extra time or this extra money, whichever way it comes in for you, and I think we've got a 50-50 split here. And so, yes, taking advantage of that extra, but without a plan. So this can be a little bit tricky, because when we don't have a plan and we have extras, sometimes we feel so abundant we don't realize where we've hit the boundary of the abundance, and we don't shut it down, or at least back it off. So I would say if you notice this energy coming in for you, it might be a good time to do some free will here and sort of change the outcome of things, change the energy, and actually make a plan for the extra that comes in before you go out spending it, or before you just, fritter it all away. Okay? La da 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 da. Next thing that we're looking at talks to me about that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded during this particular time frame. What do we have? You're dealing with somebody who's being less than honest to you. And I don't feel like this is kind of the white lies type of thing that we saw where you were, just really focusing on the positive with somebody that you're getting to know earlier. I feel like this is somebody intentionally giving not white lies, but just straight up mistruths to you. This is very similar to what I saw whenever I saw, somebody feeding you a line. This is very similar to that energy, and this is even maybe a little bit more vicious than what I saw in the communication style. So where you're being grown or expanded is that there is a person who is, trying to give you illusions and false hopes and false ideas about things. And I think that they're doing this in the hopes that you will somehow share the goodness that you have with them, whether that's spend money on them or with them, or whether that is, I don't know, sharing your lawnmower. Who needs a lawnmower this time of year? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad example. But they're expecting you to share something with them or give them something if they continue to tell you these untruths. And I think that, once again, I think that you see this, you know that what is being said is not true. And I think that this is something where not only are you not sharing very much of the goodness that you have, I don't think you're totally shutting this off. I do think you're pulling back on it, pulling back on the generosity you've had towards this liar. But I think that you're also feeling depressed or despondent about the idea that this person is handling things in this way, that they're not just being straight up with you, that they're creating these illusions or just telling these out and out lies to try to get you to jump through hoops for them. And I don't think that's making you feel very good about your interactions in this relationship or this person. Okay, so that's the part that's growing or expanding right now. Next thing we're looking at talks to me about those things that you stand for. This is going to be something that somebody talks to you about or maybe even confronts you about, and you have to either explain yourself or, defend yourself, one of the two. Just depending, how big this energy comes in. So, what do we have? It looks to me like you have a situation where you are holding back. You have a chance to have, to bring something off of the back burner that's been on the back burner for a little while. You have a chance to bring it back to the front of the stove and pay more attention to it, make it a more active part of your life. And I think that you're really hesitating on this. You're holding back on this. And I think that the reason you're holding back on this is because you don't feel like moving forward with it's going to bring you much happiness. In fact, you feel like moving forward with it is going to bring you the opposite of happiness. And so, somebody is saying something to you about this. Well, don't you want this opportunity? How come you're not moving forward with it? And you're having to defend your stance here. Now, how this other person sees you after you've explained your stance. This may even be the person who's offering you this opportunity to bring something back into more full interaction in your sphere of influence, that is actually confronting you about, well, how come you don't want to? Because what I see for them is that after this conversation, they're realizing that whatever this is that they were offering you, they thought they were offering you something that was ideal. And they're starting to realize that maybe it wasn't such a great idea to offer you this chance to bring that thing back into full attention again. They're seeing you as somebody who is flighty, who changes your mind a lot, and they are, basically they're angry and they're hurt whenever we look at this. because of you not wanting to move forward. Yep. Okay, so I'm not judging. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just telling you what I see. So don't anybody, get all offended or insulted by anything I'm saying here. It is what it is. I'm just the messenger. You get to do whatever you want with this energy. La da 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 da. Okay, let's look next at your flex time. This is the time where things start to shape up for you a little bit differently and change as you go through this time frame. So, what do we have going on here? La da da da. I think you're really happy here, Aries. And I think that you're really happy because you have choices in front of you as far as partnerships. Okay, so we could be talking about romantic partnerships, or we could be talking about business partnerships, either one, maybe even friendships. But you have choices here, and it looks to me like you're not really choosing anybody to partner up with. But I think that you're happy that you have the choices. It just makes you feel a little bit safer and good that you do have choices about it. Now, next thing that we're looking at that's going on at the same time, you are definitely spending some time alone. Not only are you not choosing some type of new partner or some type of renewed partnership, you are spending some time alone. There's somebody that you have been giving a lot to, and you're realizing that your generosity to them has not really helped or improved the situation you were hoping to help or improve. So you're pretty much done with that. You're done with that generosity. I think you're also done with communicating with that person. You don't even want to communicate with them at this point. You just want some alone time to think about what your priorities are and what it is that you do want. You know right now what you don't want. What else is going on at the same time? Well, that's an interesting conversation there. Or combination, I should say, Aries. Huh, kind of makes sense though. So, in this situation of deciding to not choose a partner at this point and not choose a reconciliation at this point, it's hard. I think that's a hard decision for you. I think it brings you a lot of sadness. It brings you a lot of sadness. And I think that also, Aries, not only does it bring you a lot of sadness, but it kind of puts your back up against a wall. If you have an addiction or a temptation or an obsession that you've been dealing with, I think that when you make this decision, you're going to be really tempted to fall back into that old comfort habit. And I see you being tempted to. I don't see you falling into it. I see this actually strengthening your resolve to keep yourself in a good, healthy place. So it's like, I don't know what this partner was like. If this partner was somebody who was what we call a bad influence or what, or maybe just the idea of partnerships in general are a little bit more stress than you can handle right now. So by steering clear of any kind of partnership or new partnership, it looks to me like that is helping you to keep yourself in a healthy place when it comes to this obsession or addiction or temptation. And even though it breaks your heart to have to choose the way that you're choosing, it's also releasing some stress from you. And this really ties in with what we saw in the subconscious earlier, because the subconscious, you were thinking that there might be a situation that would come back into play, and you were thinking, I have to cut that off when it shows back up. Now that we're getting into your flex point, this is what's happening. What you were thinking about, what you were working on in your subconscious, what you felt was coming in and you were preparing for, it's actually manifesting now, more later a little bit in the week. And so as it's manifesting, you are cutting that out. You're cutting that off. You're not allowing that to move forward again or anymore. And remember, I told you it's going to be something that makes you sad. Well, that's showing up here, it's going to be a heartache for you. But at the same time, once again, it shows up as being a relief as well. So in spite of the sadness, it's a relief. And not only is it a relief, like a load is lifted off your shoulders, but also this helps you to stay in that clean and healthy headspace, and to avoid any kind of addictions or obsessions, any toxicity. It's like you're putting down the toxicity, and it's really bringing you a lot of relief at the same time that it's making you sad. It's just one of those times where you have mixed emotions. All right, let's look at where we see you at the end of this time frame, Aries. We do see you feeling disappointed, but at the same time, I don't feel like this has you down on the ground. I do see that you're doing a lot of communication. I think you're getting a lot of support as you go through this time frame. You're talking to a lot of people who can help you get good insights on how to cope with this situation as you move forward. And we do see you moving forward in a very positive way. You were leaving behind something that was having a negative impact or a negative influence on you. Now, you don't know where you're going to yet. You just know that it's important that you leave that behind, and you're following up on that. Okay? So that is for my Aries people for November 29th to December 5th. Thank you for being here. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to come back, and then we'll hit the next week. Thanks for being here, guys. Hello there, Aries. Thank you so much for coming back. This is for December the 6th through the 12th, the next segment of the in-depth tarot forecast for December. Whoops, there goes a bunch of cards. Let's go ahead and just start with them. La da da da. La da da da. Okay, Aries, let's take a peek at your environment. Environment is any place where you have energy or effort invested. This is interesting. Okay, so it looks like your environment is actually making you feel really inspired to find new information having to do with energy and the metaphysical, spiritual things that control our universe that are not taught about in 4th grade. So things like law of attraction, psychic stuff, occult stuff, mediumship, anything metaphysical, anything like that. I see you really getting a great curiosity and really enthusiastically diving in and finding out information about this. And it looks like, it looks like you can be learning about this type of information from somebody who is very knowledgeable and who is much more advanced than you are as far as knowledge about this information. It almost looks to me like this person is a little bit reluctant, almost hesitant is what I want about passing this information on to you. So I think that you're not only getting information from this person, but I think you're getting a lot of information from this person. And I really feel like with as much enthusiasm as you have here about getting in this type of information right now, I think you've got other sources too, but the main source is this person who's a little bit hesitant about sharing this information with you. And this is going to be somebody who is in your environment. They're not so sure that they know how they feel about you tapping into this information right now. Okay. Next thing that we're looking at is your subconscious leanings. What do we have going on here? Okay, so it looks like you're considering the idea of taking something that you had left behind and bringing it back forward and working with it more, making it a bigger part of your life and focusing more attention on it. And at the same time that you're thinking about this in your subconscious, you also are realizing that while it might be tempting to do that, it actually is not what you're looking for. It's not the ideal, and to do that would be settling, and it would make you very vulnerable. It would sort of open you up to, let's just say, toxicity. Okay, let's just sum it up with that one word. So that would open you up to toxicity if you were to do that. And so that's in your subconscious that you would like to restart this thing, but you know that this thing you might like to restart is not ideal, and it just opens you up to toxicity. So I think, you know, in your subconscious, you may be trying to look for some kind of loophole, some kind of way to make this work without allowing the toxicity in. So you're just really rolling this whole idea around in your mind once we get to this time frame. All right, next let's look at learning and communication style during this time frame. There is definitely some learning, information gathering going on about money or about material goods. That comes up as just right in my face as I'm looking at these cards. I do think there's a lot of information that you're getting that is making you feel really emotional during this time frame as well. And I think you're also really doing some research and some digging, finding some information that allows you to stay in control. And when I say stay in control, I mean stay in control of your own emotions, your own actions, your own thoughts. You are looking at what you can do to help yourself maintain control so that you're not so easily influenced by somebody from outside of yourself. As far as communication style, what do we have? I do think that you are communicating some things very much with emotion, and some of the things that you're saying can be very pointed and maybe even a little bit harsh or a little bit sharp as you're saying them. I do think that what you're saying is not a lie. It's true, but it's just that the way you're saying it may be a little bit harsher than what it really needed to be as you go through this time frame. I do think you're also talking with somebody about the dreams that you have and the hopes that you have. Maybe even dreams and hopes that you have for you and this other person. But for a lot of you, this is just dreams and hopes that you have in general. And I also feel like there's some conversation going on about the idea of how far you have come and how you defend yourself to make sure that you don't slide backwards, that you maintain the progress that you've made so far. Okay, so that's learning and communication style during this time frame. Next thing we're looking at is your work. Okay, so it looks like you are going to be working alone, and it looks like for the most part you're happy with your work or you enjoy your work, but I kind of feel like you may be hitting a little bit of a point of burnout at a certain period during this time frame. And so you just want to be aware and be careful so that you can really still keep your vim for life. You don't want to hit burnout with things that are going on at work. Now, as far as inner work, I do see you taking some time to yourself to really think some things through, set some priorities for yourself. Figure out what makes you tick and why and what triggers you and deactivate those triggers. You know, you're just taking some time to really understand and help yourself to become more healthy, basically. And I think that this is partly brought on by this idea of being burnt out, that once you get burnt out, you realize, oh, I need to take some time by myself to really look at some things. And I think that, you know, you come out of this feeling much, much better once you've set your own priorities and really worked with yourself, worked on yourself, done some shadow work, basically. All right, next thing that we're looking at talks to me about those things. No, it talks to me about that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. Almost got ahead of myself a little bit. Looks to me like you are making a decision about what you want to do with your future, where you want to be pointed as far as direction-wise. And it looks like you're deciding that what you want to do is something that is very traditional oriented. So something that has a long history. So maybe could be that you're deciding that on your profession, and maybe you want to go into a profession that has a long history. Could be that you're deciding what you want to do as far as marital status. Maybe you're deciding, you know what, I do want to get married. Or maybe you're deciding, you know what, I want to commit to myself to stay single for the rest of my life, or for a certain amount of time, or whatever that may be. But I feel like you are making a decision that it's time to make some long-term plans about what you want to commit to. Do you want to commit to a married life? Do you want to commit to single life? Do you want to commit to a certain type of career? What is it that you really want to put that energy and effort in on so that you can be successful? So that's where I see you growing and expanding during this time frame. Next thing we're looking at talks to me about those things that you stand for. So this is going to be something that has happened that somebody is going to be talking to you about, and you're either explaining it or maybe even defending yourself, depending on what the situation might be. Okay, so what do we have that you're explaining or defending? It looks like you've had, wow, okay, it looks like you have had an epiphany of an idea. And it looks like this idea has come up because somebody in your sphere of influence has really thrown an emotional, over-the-top, they've had an emotional explosion that is just bigger than life. And you have, and I think that your epiphany has come from witnessing this emotional explosion. And having this epiphany because of this emotional explosion actually helps you to put some pieces together and helps you to move forward much more easily and much more coherently than what you have been before. And this is what you're explaining to somebody. Maybe they're asking you, you know, how are you doing so much better now than what you were before? And you say, well, you know, so-and-so just totally lost their stuff. And when they did, there was just a thing that they said that it made everything all click together for me. And now, yeah, things are easy. So it's going to be something along those lines. And so somebody's asking you about that. Now, after you have explained the situation to them, they see you as somebody who is walking away. They also see you as somebody who, as you're walking away, you are self-medicating, whether that's with prescription stuff off the streets, whether that's with food, whether that's with video games, whatever that might happen to be for you, whether it's with exercise. They see you as doing, you know, some type of escapist type of behavior as you're walking away. And then I think they're seeing you as whenever you have the hangover from whatever behavior that is, they see you as, you know, not only needing to recover from that hangover, but also taking that time to really think things through and to get a new perspective on this situation. So I'm not sure if that's what they saw you doing leading up to you thinking about this and getting this new perspective, or if they feel like now that you've got this new perspective, this is what's happening next. I think it's going to go different ways for different ones of you. So yeah, I'm not sure how those actually play out in time. Like I said, it'll go different ways for different ones of you, because if I can't decide, then that usually ends up being a double meaning. So I'm not going to try to make that fit somewhere where it doesn't feel right. Just know that there's a couple of options and you could have either one of them, whichever one works out for you. By the way, I haven't mentioned it on this video, but this is a general reading, meaning that this is a reading for a whole lot of different Aries. So not everything I'm going to say is going to apply to every single Aries, but most of you, okay? If you want to have a reading where you get your specific answers, then you want to go ahead and get a private reading where we can look at your specific energies. All right, so the next thing that we're looking at is the flex point during this time frame. And the flex point is when things start to shape up a little bit differently for you moving forward. So what do we have going on here? This is really interesting what's happening. So I am seeing healing from heartache, okay, healing of the heart. I'm also seeing separation, and it looks like that separation is bringing healing from the heart. And as you are separating from one situation that's bringing you healing of the heart, you also have another situation coming in where somebody or something from the past is coming in, and you're drawing comfort from that thing from the past being there. At the same time that this is going on, it does look like there's some kind of release here. And for me, a lot of times a release will mean a breakup. So somebody may have broken up with you. That may be what the separation is all about. And to me, by the way, this is a temporary separation. So even though you have this thing or this person from the past who's bringing you comfort, I feel like this separation is a temporary separation. You're going to get back together with whatever this is you're separating from. But it does look like somebody has broken things off with you, whether it's a friend or romantically or whatever, and you're feeling really defeated about this because I think that you had hoped for a lot more out of this situation. But at the same time, it does offer, you know, this, when this person breaks this off, it does offer the end of something that has been really tense and has been going on for a while. So it brings the end of a tension or a debate that has been weighing on you for a while whenever this happens. All right, Aries. La da 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 da. Are you cycling through with somebody? It seems like we had similar energies the last time around too. What else is going on at this time frame? I think that you have a decision in front of you again, and this is, you know, a decision that there's not really a wrong answer here. Whatever you pick is going to be just fine. But I think you're having a hard time making this decision. And the reason you're having a hard time making this decision is because I feel like you're right on the verge of accepting that the love that you thought was somewhere is not there anymore. Somebody has shown you their true colors. Maybe the love was never there, but you're seeing this true colors, and you're coming to this point of acceptance for who they are and realizing what the situation really is for you. And so with that, I feel like where you came into this situation with very clear ideas about how you wanted to proceed, I think with accepting this bit of information, with accepting somebody's true colors, that sort of confuses you, because now the implications are that the plan changes, but it's almost like your mind hasn't, or your heart hasn't caught up with your mind yet, where your mind is realizing, well, wait, maybe the plan should change now that I've seen this person's true colors, but your heart still wants to go forward as if you haven't seen this person's true colors. So that's going to be really interesting, because I do feel like you're accepting that that's how that person is. I don't feel like that's not the case. Yeah, so like I said, like your mind is like, okay, then everything has to change. And your heart is like, yeah, but I've held these plans for so long. I don't... Okay. So let's see where you are at the end of this time frame. What's going on there? I think what's going on here is it's really taking you by surprise that I think now that you've seen this person's true colors, you don't feel the same way towards them as you used to feel, and that's really taking you by surprise. It's really taking you by surprise, and it's causing you dash action. So when it comes up that you don't have these feelings that you thought you were going to feel for this person anymore, I think because that's a surprise factor for you, it causes you to take some kind of rash action. Now, that rash action could be to act like you have feelings for this person because it's so surprising to you that you don't, or for this situation or this project or whatever it is. I think that's, yeah, like when I go down that path, that's really the only doorway that opens. I think that the rash action is the idea of pretending that, oh, well, I've always had feelings for this person before. I'm sure they'll come back. I'm just going to pretend like I've still got them and wait for those feelings to come back. I think that's what you're doing when we come to the end of this week, Aries. I mean, this is lying to yourself. It really is. It's lying to yourself just because it was a surprise. And I think you're a little bit paralyzed, like, but I have this plan. And so I think you're just sticking to the plan because you don't know what else to do. I think this sort of freezes you in place just because it's a surprise. But knowing you, Aries, I think you'll recover pretty quickly. I have no doubt about that. All right, so that is week 2 of December. I'm going to take another break, come back, and we'll look at the next week. Thank you guys for being here. And Aries, this time we are looking at the time frame from December the 13th through December the 19th to see what kind of energies are flowing through and influencing your life at that point. Just putting a good shuffle on these cards before I put them down and we start to take a peek. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the thumbs ups on the video and for sharing the video. Thank you also for all the comments that you put below the video. All of these things help with the algorithm and get me in front of more people, which the more people I can help, the happier I am, the bigger the ripple effect. That's all a good thing. So thank you for your help with that. Of course, also thank you to those of you who do super chats for me whenever I'm live, and also thank you to those of you who order private readings and private Reiki sessions from me. It is all of you guys' support at every single level that lets me do what I love to do for my living. So thank you, really, from the bottom of my heart. I know I say that a lot, try to say it on every video. Doesn't mean I mean it any less just because I keep telling you guys that. Been on YouTube since 2013 doing this, and I appreciate each and every one of you. A lot of you have been watching me since 2013. All right. Let's look at your environment. This is interesting. It looks like you may be changing your environment. You may be moving, and I think that wherever it is that you're moving to is your ideal. So if you're moving, this could be moving home. This could be changing where you work, but definitely your environment is changing. And I feel like it's changing quickly, and I feel like it is ideal. Now this could be manifesting too in that you're doing renovations and that those renovations are moving along rather quickly as well, and that you're very happy with them. It could be that as well, but I really feel like for most of you we're talking about a literal geographic move. Okay? Next thing that we are looking at. Next thing that we're looking at. This is your subconscious leanings, Aries. What do we have here? What's going on? So it looks like there's somebody that you have given advice to or that you've mentored. You've tried to pass along good information to them. And now you're finding yourself in a situation where you're setting up boundaries between yourself and this person because there's something going on that has disappointed you. And I feel like this person has really turned out to be more of an energy vampire than somebody that you can actually help. I feel like even though you were giving them the best advice that you could give them and really trying to help them to be able to move forward in their lives, I don't feel like they valued that advice, and I feel like they basically just kind of took it for granted and didn't do much with it, and then didn't understand why their lives weren't improving. And so they basically turn into more of an energy vampire than somebody that you're able to help give a leg up. And so because of that, I think you're really disappointed by that. You were really hoping to be able to help this person. But because they've become more of an energy vampire than anything else, you're putting up your walls, you're putting up your boundaries between yourself and them. You're not going to spend that much time trying to help somebody who is not helping themselves and is not appreciating your help. Okay, so next thing that we are looking at talks to me about your learning style and then your communication style as well. Starting with learning style. It looks to me like you are learning something in a more formal way, so you could be taking a class or a seminar. You could be being coached or mentored as well, and with something that has a little bit more of a rigid structure. Also learning, I do think there are things that you're learning about during this time frame just because you're interested in, just because you want to know some new things and expand your knowledge, expand your world. All right, and then we also see you once again learning about money, finances, and basically, how to multiply it, how to create more of it. All right. So let's look next at communication style. La da 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 da. I do feel like you have a lot of communication going on, and a lot of this communication, I think, could be very creative, but also has some structure. The first thing that comes into my mind when I try to think about examples of this would be like a creative writing assignment, where you have to make up some kind of story or some kind of topic for a paper, and you have to, create that paper from your own thoughts. And yet, there's certain parameters around that. It has to be so many pages or so many words, and, the topic has to be around this area of life or whatever. So there's some kind of communication that's happening. I do think that it is structured in a formal way, and I think there's also lots of room for your own creative expression within that structure. All right, so other things that you're communicating about. Remember those things I said you were learning just because you're curious, they make you happy, you want to learn them? I think you're going to be sharing information about these things with other people in your life. And the last thing that shows up that you're learning about is money, 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 honey, or talking about money. We had you learning about money and making more money. We also see you talking about money. So you could be talking to somebody about getting a loan or getting an investor or a backer, or you could be talking to somebody about investing in their project. You could be talking to somebody about your retirement account at work, or the benefits of a Roth 401k compared to something else. I would give you an example, but I'm not that literate with that stuff. So anyway, communication, going back and forth about finances, as well as learning about finances during this time frame. La da 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 da. Okay, Aries, next thing that we're looking at is work. What do we have? I don't think that you're all excited about work right now. You may be feeling pretty burnt out, Aries. I know we had that come up before for your last time frame, and it looked like you had managed to dig yourself out of that. I have it coming up in this time frame too, that feeling of, I don't care about it. I don't really want to be there. I'm tired. I'm tired. So I feel like there's that burnout coming in again, and I feel like also you are, you're kind of manifesting exactly what you don't want in work. And this is exactly the type of thing that, we can change through free will. If we recognize this coming in time, we can head it off at the pass. So how do we manifest the things that we don't want? By focusing on the things that we're afraid of, by focusing on the things that would be like the worst case scenario. So we don't want to focus on those things. We want to focus on the things that make us happy, the things that excite us, the things that make us feel good and joyful. And so if you catch yourself, Aries, at work or having to do with work, focusing on the things that you don't want, then you want to steer that ship in another direction so that you can manifest the things that you do want. Okay? And the last card here does talk about that there is hope for good things to come along. So it looks to me like probably even without my advice, you guys would start steering the ship the other way. Or maybe it's because of my advice. I don't know. Either way, I do think that when you start to notice that you're manifesting things you don't want, I think you catch yourself and start going the other way with that. Okay? Next, we're going to look at that part of your personality which is growing or expanding as you move through this time frame. What do we have here? What do we have here? Oh, interesting. Okay, so Aries, what we have coming to make, and either choice that you make is going to be just fine. The only reason you're having to make a choice is because you don't have the energy or the resources to do both of these things at the same time. So you have to put one sort of on the back burner, or maybe just let it go, and you have to focus on the other one. So I don't really think you're going to have too much trouble with making this choice. And your choice has to do with the idea of something that you know you need to and you know it would bring benefit to you if you did change this thing, but you don't want to. You would rather stay comfortably the same than face the unknowns in that change. And so that's the one choice on one hand. On the other hand, you have the choice of receiving a wonderful gift. So you can stay the same and stay in your comfort zone, or you can make this change that you know you need to make anyway and face all the unknowns of that and receive the gift of making that change and seeing what life is like afterwards. That's your choice. That's your choice, Aries. And that's where you're growing and expanding, is in being able to make choices along those lines in a more healthy and productive way. La da 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 da. Because why? Because if we don't choose the healthy and productive choice, we usually end up having consequences for that. We don't like those consequences. We try to avoid negative consequences. All right. Next thing we're looking at are those things that you stand for during this time frame, Aries. Now, when I'm looking at this is something that somebody has confronted you about or talked to you about. They wanted an explanation, or you had to defend yourself about this. So it looks like you got some kind of good information that came into you about money or about material goods, and you this information actually allowed you to be able to start taking steps to do something about making improvements in your budget. Okay? And so I'm not sure why anybody would question this or confront you on this, but it looks like somebody has. And after their conversation with you, how they see you is somebody who is doing something that they absolutely love to do. They basically see you as following your passion, and that before you felt like you were held back. They feel like before you were held back really more by your own thoughts and thinking than you were by anything in physical reality, but now you're released from those obstacles that you're thinking, in their opinion, you're thinking had been holding up for you. And so now you are coming into a situation where people are paying you. Maybe they're repaying you for something that they borrowed before, or maybe they're just paying you, but they're paying you fairly for the energy that you are giving to them. So it looks to me like this transition was that they confronted you about that had to do with money and finances, that allowed you to move forward and make your income better, improve your income. Is they're seeing this as, you doing your passion and releasing yourself from your old mindsets and allowing yourself finally is what I'm hearing, to be paid fairly for the things that you do. Okay? So there is that. That could play out in a relationship scenario too, where you're getting a reciprocal relationship, but this really has a strong flavor of work and pentacles to me, so I really am leaning more towards that being more of a professional or work situation. Okay? If you can call what you do work, because it looks like you're following your passion. Maybe it doesn't even feel like work to you. Whoop, whoop. All right, so now, what do we have here? What do we have? We're looking at your flex time now, and this is where things start to shape up and go in a little bit of a different direction for you during this time frame for Aries. So, Aries, I feel like your self-esteem has taken a hit. I feel like you have let other people tell you what your value is, and you have bought into their version of your value, which is not anywhere near what your real value is. And as you have done that, I think a part of this has to do with the idea that there has been an ending. There has been an ending between you and another person, or you and a partner of some kind. And this ending, I think you've come to accept that this is really the ending. This is over. Over. All right, so accepting an ending, but kind of taking a hit on self-esteem with this. What's going on at the same time? Looks like, oh, this is interesting. Looks like you're going back home. You're going back to family. You're going back to your roots. All right. And I think that when you go back to your roots, I think you're here. I think that there are enough people that are at your base, at the roots, maybe the roots of your family tree, who are cheering for you. They're happy for you that this ending has come. They're happy for you that you've accepted that this ending has come, that you're not still fighting it. And so they're letting you know how much they appreciate you, how proud they are of you for doing what you've done. And it looks to me like where there used to be mixed feelings before, there's now everybody's kind of on the same page about how they feel about things. So where you might have felt one way about what you were dealing with and your family might have felt another way, now everybody's kind of on the same page. Everybody's pretty much feeling the same way about this situation now that there's been this ending. And that feels really good to me. It feels like there's a certain amount of relief there. There's a certain amount of relaxation that gets to come in there once it happens. What else is going on at the same time frame? All right. This is interesting. This ending that you have accepted, I think this person comes back eating crow, kissing your butt, trying to bring things back to life again. And I also think, Aries, that at one point you were trying really hard to manifest this. And I think you're still happy enough that it happens, but I don't think it's for the same reasons. I don't think, and we're going to look at where you are at the end of this time frame to see if there's confirmation in those cards or not. But I really feel like you've manifested them coming back and letting you know that they want to be connected with you again. But I think that now, where before, if they would have come back and wanted to be connected with you again, you would have been happy enough to jump on that bandwagon and just go with it. Now I think it's more of a balm to your ego. I don't think you're so much interested in going back to that. I think it's just a balm to your ego that this person realizes, oh, I might have really messed up. This person, this Aries person, is actually a really great person, and I might have really blown it with this person. I think that at this point, I think that just feels good for you to hear. I don't think you're that interested in actually taking them up on the idea of getting back together, but it's good for you to hear that, oh, they realize they messed up. Where do we see you at the end of this time frame? Oh, yeah. So you have found your happiness by the time we get here, Aries, and I feel like you've probably been working pretty hard to find your happiness. And you have reached a new pinnacle of happiness here. Things are cool between you and the family. Things are good. You know, when I say cool, I don't mean cold. I mean, things are good between you and the family. You've got happy things going on there. I feel like you've, gained some ground when it comes to self-esteem and things you've accomplished in your own life. And to me, it looks like you are expecting that if you would reconnect with this person, that would take you backwards. And you're not prepared to go backwards. And so what I see you doing here is holding your ground, just like what I was seeing intuitively on those last cards. These cards are saying that you're holding your ground because you don't want to go backwards. And so you're not letting this person come back in so that you can go backwards again. You want to keep moving forward. You like the idea of forward momentum. You like how it feels. Okay? So that's what we've got for that time frame. Thank you all for being here. I'll take a little break, come back, and we'll look at the 4th week. See you soon. Welcome back, Aries. This time, the time frame that we're looking at is going to be December the 20th through the 26th. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas. I wonder how many times we'll have a gift show up in the spread. Wouldn't that be interesting? Either giving a gift or receiving a gift. Let's find out what all kind of influences are working in Aries' life during this time frame. All right, Aries, let's take a peek at your environment during this time frame. It looks to me like you may be shuffling back and forth between a couple of environments as we go through this time frame. So this could be work environment, could be home environment, could be that you're working from home sometimes and working at work sometimes. Could be that you've got, 2 work environments that you're shuttling back and forth between, or 2 home environments that you're going back and forth between right now. It definitely looks like you are in charge of the environment where you are, at least for right now. And it also looks like that idea of you being in charge is restricting you or limiting you. In other words, so you have say-so in this environment or over this environment, you have say-so, but you're restricting that. And the distinct impression I get is that you're restricting what you do because you don't want to be perceived as having a favorite or having favorites, or you don't want to be perceived as doing something that is out of order just because it's something that you want to do personally. And so while you do have authority here, you are restricting yourself because you don't want things to look inappropriate, is how I'm hearing that come through as bottom lined. Okay? All right, so the next thing that we have coming up talks to me about your subconscious leanings during this time frame. There is a heartache or a heartbreak that's on your mind, but it's interesting how this comes in because it looks to me like you're feeling like this is actually a good thing, and that it's going to help you to continue forward on something that you had started previously. Interesting. It looks like this heartache or this heartbreak is the motivator for you to get moving on something that is different, that feels happy, that feels good. Interesting. And that's what's in your subconscious mind. Next thing that we have showing up talks to me about learning style and also communication style. So, learning style. Well, you're definitely week in a row learning about money, finances, what to do with money, finances, how to care for it, how to grow it, how to grow your pet money rock. I don't know. I don't even know where that came from. But anyway, what would be a pet money rock? A money rock would be gold or silver or something along those lines. I am really interested in hearing whoever listens to this video that when I say pet money rock, it actually relates to them. I would like to hear in what way. Maybe you have a breeding animal named Rock, pet money rock. That's a pet. All right, enough about me conjecturing examples of how this could happen, but I do see you learning about money and finances once again. I also see you learning about traditions. Traditions, possibly ceremonies, but definitely traditions. Can be that you're learning about family traditions, but it could also be about cultural traditions as well. And what else do we have you showing up as learning? Looks like you have some pretty solid information that you're trying to build upon, but it looks like the information that you're building with for this addition to your original information is riddled with little white lies or little illusions. So this new information that you're adding to the old information is definitely not as reliable as those things that you already know, those things that are tried and true. So you want to be really careful. Check your sources. Check your sources. Check your references. Check and double check on some of the things that you're learning new, especially before you make any decisions based on this information during this time frame. Now, looking at communication style, once again we are talking about money, Aries. That's what I see here, talking about money, and we're also talking about self-esteem. This is interesting. I'm getting a strong vibe of there's some kind of cultural, what's the phrase I'm looking for? It's some kind of cultural transition, coming of age almost. Like confirmation would be for a Catholic, or what is that? I know there's one for Jewish people too, but I can't think of the name of it. But where they have the ceremony when the boy turns 13 or turns 12. I'm not Jewish, and I only know one Jewish person in my whole life. Not because I don't talk to people, but anyway, I just don't know. But I know that they have something like that. So to me, it doesn't feel like it's for somebody who is young like this, like around these age groups for the examples that I've given, but that it's sort of a coming of age in a similar fashion to this. So this could be, say you're in a union and you have a position in the union, and now you're elected to a position that's higher. This would be that kind of transition where you're making rank, basically. You're working your way up through the ranks. If you're in the military, this could be, tacking on a new stripe, or, if you're an officer, upgrading to the next symbol for your status. So It just seems like there's something very traditional here where you're having sort of a coming of age type of situation during this time frame, and a lot of your communication has to do with that. So you may be sending out invites, or you may be thanking people for showing up, or there's a lot of examples. You guys get the picture. I don't have to spell it all out. And then also for communication, somebody is trying to tell you some little white lies, and we saw that last time too, I think. Somebody is trying to feed you some little white lies, and I think you are just chopping those right down. I think you're seeing right through those. I also think not only are you seeing right through those, I think you're confronting the person immediately. I think you're saying, you know what, I know that's not right. How about we try this story again? This time, why don't you tell me the truth? That type of thing, where you're confronting this person and saying, look, I know you're not being straight up with me. How about we try this again? What's the real deal? What's the real deal? That's what you want to know. Now, the next thing that we're looking at has to do with work, or we're going to look at work and inner work. And we're going to start with outer work. Let me come back in a second. Sorry about that interruption. I had somebody come into the room and get my attention. My apologies. Anyway, we were looking at work, and so we're going to look at work first, and then we're going to look at inner work, or shadow work, that work that we do to make ourselves better, to make us happier with who we are. We'll look at that second. So when we're looking at outer work, I do see you doing a lot of information digging, a lot of fact finding, a lot of researching, just really looking for information as a part of your work. Now, for some of you, this doesn't actually have to be a part of your work or a part of your job description. For some of you, this could be that you want to put out resumes somewhere else, and you're doing research on where you may want to put resumes. You're doing research on those companies, making sure that that's the type of place that you want to be, making sure that you know your stuff in case they call you in for an interview. Okay, so for some of you, this may not be work where you're getting paid exactly, but this is still work whenever you're applying for a new position. And so for me, this is doing that research. Okay, so it could be research to get ready to send out resumes, or to get ready to go on interviews, or it could be just a part of the job that you are actually doing. And I think that's going to play out differently for different ones of you, Aries. La da da da. What else do we have doing for coming up for work? It does look like you are looking back to how you were successful in the past, and you're thinking about what can you do that would be similar to that to bring success again to you as far as in work or professional life. There is definitely an influence of dissatisfaction around you, which is probably why I was getting such a strong feeling that a lot of this research could be about resumes or getting into a different work situation. So there is yeah, I feel like you're just feeling very dissatisfied with your work situation. I will give you a heads up from this card that is showing me this, that some of this dissatisfaction has to do with your attitude more than what's actually happening in the workplace. So if you start to notice this dissatisfaction come in, you may want to take some time to head that off at the pass, because this type of energy doesn't bring anything good with it. Okay? How do you head that kind of energy off at the pass? Well, maybe you make a list of the things that you like about where you work. Maybe where you work, you get to kind of work on your own with nobody looking over your shoulder or anything like that. So maybe you like that part of it. Maybe where you work, you like the color of the office that you're in, or you like that you can work from home, or maybe you like the hours that you work, or maybe you like your coworkers. Maybe you don't like your boss, but you like your coworkers, so you start writing down, well, my coworkers are fantabulous. But you want to find things to be grateful about because they're here. I can see plainly that they're here, but the attitude is that you're focusing on the negative instead of the positive. And what happens when we focus on the negative? We make ourselves more miserable than we need to be. Okay? What happens when we focus on the positive? We make ourselves more happy than we need to be. I'm just joking. We all need to be happier. Okay, let's look at inner work. What is inner work here? Inner work for you really is tied in with how you had that off at the past. The inner work is about looking at the positives, looking at the things that you can be grateful for, but it's not related to just work. This is related to life in general. And I think, Aries, you guys used to do this. This used to be a regular practice for you, but you haven't been doing it for quite a while. For quite a while. And so this is coming back to the way you used to be. This is the inner work, to come back to the way you used to be, to feel appreciation for the things around you that are good and are happiness making and are joyful if you let them be. All right, next thing that we have coming up talks to me about what? This talks to me about that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. Looks to me like you're getting your mojo back. You're absolutely getting your mojo back. I think you're coming back to your inner child. You're growing your inner child. You're nurturing that inner child. And any kind of obsessive or escapist or addictive behaviors that could be considered temptations of yours, I think that you are doing really well during this time frame of staying away from those. And I feel like that's part of you getting your mojo back, is by staying away from that stuff. And that is part of what's allowing your true personality to come out, or your inner child to come out. You're getting back to yourself. You're getting back to yourself. And the key is staying away from those escapist behaviors or addictive substances or obsessive thought patterns or whatever that is for you, toxic relationship, whatever that is. That allows you to keep your mojo just flowing, 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 which is always good. We manifest the best when we're in our own mojo. Okay, next thing I'm looking at is something that you stand for. So this is going to be something that how do I want to say this? This is going to be something that you have to explain or you have to defend at some point. Okay, so it looks like there is something, you know, we were talking about just a second ago about something that is an escapist type of behavior, an addiction, an obsession, whatever it is, that you have really been doing well against lately. It hasn't been able to suck you in like it has at other times before in your life. And this is really giving you the chance to make a good impression on other people around you and find partners who are good, solid partners. And there is somebody around you who's really throwing a fit about this. And I think they're throwing a fit because they're used to you participating in this behavior, whether it's an obsession or escapist or, you know, addiction. They're used to you participating in this behavior with them, you know, and being their buddy in this. And they're basically having a fit because you're getting more healthy, and they don't want that because they want their buddy to be just as unhealthy as them, so that they don't feel bad about their situation and that they're not as healthy as you. Okay? And so somebody's confronted you on this. You've had to defend the idea of, you know what? I have a better life. I'm feeling more healed. I'm feeling more natural. I'm feeling more like me. I'm attracting people into my life that are more whole as I become more whole. And if somebody else just wants me to backslide, I can't do that. I've made too much progress. I think that's where you are with that. And I think that's what you're explaining to somebody. How this other person perceives you after this explanation They see you as basically giving something another chance. So maybe you've done really well before and slid back before. And so they're seeing you as, giving this other thing, giving this a chance again. And they feel like you're not reliable. I really think this is the person who wants you to engage in this escapist activity with them. So they feel like you're not reliable. They can't count on you. They can't count on you to be there, and share a crack pipe with them, or be there and help them get pills, or, whatever it is. They feel like, you're kind of wishy-washy. They can't really rely on you for these things. And I feel like they're pretty impatient with this. I think you're going to really get a lot of blowback from this person. I think they're going to be telling you, look, you know that you're going to fall off the wagon here anyway, so why not just hurry up and do it now? We're missing out on a great night of partying because you're trying to be clean and healthy and sober. So you want to be ready for this, okay? You just want to be prepared for this, because this is not pretty energy. This is energy that is desperate for somebody to be with them as they self-destruct. That's not good for them. It's not good for the person with them. So don't be the person with them. Also, I'm hearing, don't try to save them. Don't think that you can save them. Don't think that you're the savior. This person does not want to be saved. They do not want to be helped. I'm just going to tell you up front right now, not because that's the way I perceive it or I think it, but because that's the message I'm getting in from Spirit. Don't knock yourself out trying to save this person, because they don't want to be saved. They don't want to be helped. If you knock yourself out trying to help this person, all you're doing is putting yourself into a situation where you've got problems, where you're being tempted to do things that you don't want to do and that you probably haven't done for a while. So don't let that energy of trying to help them suck you in to where next thing you know, you've let everything you have slide down the toilet. We don't need that for you. We want you to be successful. Okay? I want my people to be successful. You guys are my people. I want you to be successful. All right? I may not know you all, but I feel you all. I sense you all. And I care about you all. I'm not going to be corny like some readers and say, I love you all, but I do care about you all. Definitely. All right, anyway. Let's get off at the tangents and let's look at the flex point and the next. During this time frame where things start to shape up a little bit differently for you as you go through this time frame. Okay, so flex point. I do see you working really hard. It looks like things are going a little crazy and they're going a little bit off course at work, and so I feel like you're working really hard trying to put out fires and trying to get things back on track. Even if they're not going back on track perfectly, but at least getting them headed in the right direction. So I feel like you're incredibly busy at work during this time frame. Also during this time frame, there's somebody who you're interacting with. How is this actually most accurately read? They're noticing, this may even be the same person we saw earlier, they're noticing that you're making a lot of changes for the better in your life. They're noticing this, and they are paying attention. They're analyzing this. They're thinking about this. It's interesting. Maybe it's not the same person. But it looks like because you are making some positive changes, this person who is, basically keeping an eye on you in some way is wanting to help you out, wanting to give you a leg up, wanting to boost you financially. And then the other thing that we have going on during this same time frame I see you being a very independent person. I don't see you being, hanging on to anybody else's coat straps or coat tabs. I can't think of the word. Anyway, you're not hanging on to the back of anybody else's coat. You're doing your own thing. You're being very self-sufficient. You're taking care of yourself here. And it looks like to me that you're fine with taking care of yourself during this time frame. And actually, there's not anybody that you're feeling really excited about, as far as, getting anything really going. You're not necessarily feeling like you want to be in a relationship right now, is basically what I'm seeing here. I think you're seeing a relationship as being pretty restrictive when you're able to be single and on your own with no restrictions. Now, for some of you, that's not going to apply, obviously, but, it's like we talk about. This is a general reading. This should apply to most of you most of the time, but there will always be, those that it doesn't apply to, and that's okay. If this doesn't apply, you may want to check your rising sign or your moon sign. All right, let's look at where we see you at the end of this time frame, Aries. La da 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 da. End of this time frame. Yeah, okay, so there is somebody who you've been very generous with in the hopes that your generosity would help them to move forward or make some kind of progress in life. And what's happened is you've realized that your generosity is not helping them move forward or make progress in life. It's just making them more and more and more and more and more and more dependent on you. And so you are cutting off this generosity because that was never the point, to make them dependent on you. And you really don't have any plans about when you're going to start sharing your resources or sharing your energy with this person again. You may be planning on not doing that again. But definitely there are no set dates of when this generosity is going to be turned on again in the future at this point. And what I can tell you is that actually taking this action has released you from a whole lot of stress that was really impacting you and holding you down prior to you shutting down that generosity to somebody who really wasn't benefiting from it, who was only getting more and more dependent on you. So it takes the stress off of you when you do that. Okay, let me wrap this up, take a little break. I'll come back and we'll look at week 5. Welcome back, Aries. This time what we're looking at is going to be December the 27th through January the 2nd. See what kind of energies show up for you on that. All right, Aquarius, let's look at your energy for this particular time frame. What do we have coming up? All right, so this is for your environment, which normally is going to be home, but could also be school or work or any other place as well, just any place where you have energy or effort invested. I do see you. Looks like you are taking money out of savings or something that you have stashed away. You're taking that out because you're trying to fix something that is not working right. You are fixing something that's not working right, and it's costing you money. All right. Next thing that we're looking at talks to me about your subconscious leanings. Subconscious leanings. Okay, Aries, so it looks to me like looks to me like you've been recovering from a situation where somebody made a decision that influenced you heavily, and they made it in a really unfair way. This can be the person who is least heavily invested in a relationship ending a relationship. This can be something that came up in court. This can be a decision that was made in the family. This can be a decision that was made by a union leader. Lots of different ways this can play out, but somebody in a position of authority has made some kind of decision that influences you heavily that was made in a corrupt way. And you've been recovering from the way this decision went down. And I think that what you're doing, what you're thinking about doing, is not only the whole act of recovering from this, but also walking away from this situation. And your subconscious mind is this whole idea of recovering from this decision and walking away from the whole situation. But when I see that there was a judgment or a decision made against you, even though it was made corruptly, I don't see you fighting it. I don't see you putting energy or effort into going up against this. To me, it looks like you're deciding that as long as you're fighting this, you're not happy. So to get the peace, to get this, you're walking away from this situation instead of pushing it upward, upward, upward to a higher court or a higher authority in whatever situation it may be for you. Okay? Let's look next at your learning style and communication style during this time frame. Sheesh, I feel like you've got some kind of really hard lesson coming up here, because part of the things that you're learning from are from your own tears. The things that you've been through that have caused you pain are these things that, and emotional pain, are these things that you're actually learning from here. Now, that's not the only thing you're learning from. I do see you also learning about money and material assets. I think this is 5 weeks for 5 that you're learning about finances and money. And I think that you're also learning about energy and how to use energy in a more long-term basis than what you have before. As far as communication during this time frame, I do feel like you have friends that you're talking to and you're able to laugh and joke around with them. And, yep, communicating about money. Money just seems to be an essential theme throughout this month as far as your learning and communication. So I would say probably essential theme for you around this month is money. Also, I feel like, what else are we communicating about here? I think you're communicating about your own strengths, those things that you're good at. Those things that you're good at. All right? You may even be bragging a little bit. Okay, next thing that we have coming up for Aries. This is about work and inner work. We're going to start with regular work first. You have some kind of strange cards coming up here, because it looks like to me you're feeling like work is kind of an ideal situation as far as work goes for you right now. Oh, I see what's going on. But there is something going on outside the sphere of work that's impacting your attitude. And I think this is why work is ideal for you, because either one of two things. Either work is something that you can kind of do in your sleep, and so while you're at work, you have the time to think through whatever it is, these things that are not making you feel very energetic or like you want to do things or ambitious. So you have the time to think through these things. Or work may be ideal because it doesn't allow you the chance to think about these things outside of work that have you feeling like, basically like you've got a problem and you don't know how to solve it, you don't know how to move forward with it. Okay? And so that is definitely an influence right now. What else is going on with work? What I'm hearing Spirit is saying is it seems like the work is never done. So there may be a situation at work where things are just backlogged and where you're playing catch up, is what it looks like to me now and feels like to me. Let's look at inner work. The very first thing Spirit said again for inner work is the work is never done. It goes on into an infinity. Which is interesting because infinity goes beyond our death. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so what else do we need to know about inner work during this time for Aries? Some of the work that you're doing actually is about your body and about the view of your body, how you perceive your body. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that there. Yep. Okay, so that's inner work. Next, let's look at that part of your personality which is being grown or expanded right now. So right now, Aries, what I'm looking at, and this is why we always get readings ahead of time, is to be able to head things off at the pass if we see something that is less than ideal or not really what we want to have show up in our lives. And this is one of those times where something like that's here. What I have is that you're not having a very good time in getting things to work out in relationships right now. Relationships don't just have to be romantic. We have all kinds of different types of relationships. And I think a big part of the reason things are not working out in relationships has to do with the energy work. You're not doing the energy work that is required for a relationship to work well. And instead you're trying to take action. You're trying to say things. And I think you're doing things in a really rash way, Aries. It looks to me like some of the things that you're saying are unintentionally hurtful. So you want to, number one, you want to be really careful with the words that you're using during this time frame, especially when it comes to relationships, and especially relationships that are important to you, whether those are relationships at work, at home, around the neighborhood, whatever, in the family. And the other thing that you want to take away from this is focus on that energy work. Focus on doing what it takes energetically to have a good relationship with somebody. How do you do that? I know I can hear some of you saying, well, how do you do that energetically? Energetically, you just are grateful for the good things about that person. Those things that are good, those things that are positive. Now, I know, I hear you, I know not everybody is your favorite person, but every person has something good about them. Something. Maybe it's that they have a zit right in the center of their nose and it's perfectly symmetrical. I mean, you might have to reach that far to improve a relationship with somebody. You might have to really stretch that far. Hopefully most of you won't. Hopefully some of you will be able to find some nice things about people in your life more easily than that. But you want to focus on the good things in the relationships that you have. And even in the relationships that you observe. You want to really focus on those positive attributes, because what happens when you put focus on those positive attributes, even if it's not in a relationship that you necessarily want to improve, as you focus on good attributes in any relationship, that starts to bring more attributes into all your relationships. And get away from this having things not work out in relationships very much, and so you feel like you're forced to take action and to say things that might be really rash. Okay? La da da da. Next thing we have coming up, Aries. Aries. This is talking about those things that you stand for. So somebody has said something to you about this and you've had to either explain it or defend it, whatever this is that they talked to you about. Let's see. It looks like you've been recovering from some kind of heartache where somebody broke up with you. Doesn't even have to be romantic. This can be like a friend saying, you know what, I don't want to be friends anymore, or a family member saying, don't talk to me anymore. Anyway, it was traumatizing for you emotionally whenever this happened, and it looks like you have been healing from this. And I also feel like not only have you been healing from this, but you've been taking accountability for how things went in that relationship. You've been looking through that relationship like you would look through an old book and recognizing, oh, you know what, if I would have handled this differently, maybe things could have turned out better. I feel like you're taking accountability for those things that are rationally influenced by you. And saying, you know, yeah, that person is not perfect, but I could have done things better as well. Okay, so that's what I see here. And I think somebody is confronting you about it. Somebody's saying, you know, why are you beating up on yourself on this? I really get the sense from the viewpoint of the other person, they feel like everything that is wrong is about this person who broke up with you or cut ties with you. They don't see that you did anything wrong. They see the other person who's doing something wrong. So, la da 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 da. How does this person perceive you after you've talked about this situation? They see you as somebody who's starting something new, not really knowing where it is going to take you, more or less as a leap of faith. They're also seeing you as having your fingers in a lot of pies, having some scattered energies, you know, trying to take care of a lot of different things at one time. And they're seeing you as somebody who is really good at manifesting. Really good at manifesting energetically. Isn't that interesting? Okay. I know some Aries, they are very powerful manifestors, so I'm not surprised about that. La da 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 da. La da 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 da. Okay, next thing that we have coming up here talks to me about what's going on during your flex time. This is the time during this time frame that we're looking at where things start to shape up a little differently or change direction for you as you incorporate new lessons or experience into your life. Okay, so what do we have going on? You do have some kind of gift or opportunity. Ooh, look at this. How many times is this going to happen to you, Aries, in this month? This is at least the second time, I think, maybe the third or maybe even the fourth time. Somebody is coming to you wanting to give you an opportunity to kick things back up with them. And you're not interested in that. And in fact, the way Spirit shows this is that you're giving yourself a gift by focusing more on yourself and by focusing more on doing self-healing and sort of picking up the pieces of yourself rather than trying to begin something new with them. Now, at the same time that this is happening, it does look like you are still studying energy pretty heavily and energy work of some kind. And it looks to me like you're using this energy work to eliminate those things that are toxic from your life, or at least minimize them, pare them down. Because you're finding ways to use energy work to your benefit to help you overcome some of the things that can sometimes sort of get their claws into you, so to speak. And I think that as you're learning about this energy work, you are gradually finding more and more hope for what you can do on your own in the future. Also coming up at the same time Aries. You're really missing somebody, and it's stressing you out. And I feel like this person may be moving. I feel like this person may be moving. They may be moving to a different location. And, or is it you moving? No, it's not. You have a person that is moving to a different location, and it's somebody that that you already miss anyway. And I think it's stressing you out that they are moving. Interesting. Let's look at where we find you at the end of this time frame. I like it. You're spending some good time with friends. You're enjoying your friends. You're enjoying some happy time with them. You may even be celebrating with friends during this time frame. Oh, some of you may be participating in a farewell party for your person who's moving. This may be a friend of yours that's moving. And I think that this person that you're spending time with, whether it's at a farewell party or otherwise, I think this person that you're spending time with is somebody who's self-made. They probably have their own business, or that, you know, they do their own thing as far as financially. Very self-sufficient. And also somebody who is very much a nurturer, may even have some type of intuitive abilities, but definitely somebody who is empathic and who always just kind of seems to know what to say at just the right time to help bring in, you know, comfort or healing for those people around her. Somebody who can tend to be more calm in the personal sector. When she's focused on her business, she can be incredibly enthusiastic, but when she's focused on somebody in personal life, one-on-one, or up close and personal, then she's somebody who is really encouraging and uplifting. Yeah. And I'm going to say that for most of you, this is a female that is moving. Or, well, I don't know if this is a female that's moving, but I do feel like this is a female that you're spending time with and celebrating with. Absolutely. And that's where we see you at the end of this time frame. So we're looking at January. Of course, also, you know, that's New Year's is right in that window too. So that could be your New Year's Day celebration too showing up. Interesting. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here, Aries. I do appreciate it. Looks like we made it through the 5 weeks and ending it on a high note with enjoying friends. We like this. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the thumbs ups. Thank you for sharing this video, and thank you for the comments and the subscribes if you haven't already. All of those do help with the logarithm here on the YouTube channel, so thank you very much. Also, thank you to those of you who give super chats whenever I'm in live. I appreciate that as well. And thank you to those of you who order private readings and private Reiki sessions. It is just so fantastic to get to know you guys on a one-on-one level. So thank you very much for allowing me that honor and that privilege. And just thank you for all of your support at every level, whether you're just somebody who I've never talked to, that you just come in and you just watch the videos. I mean, I know I've got people that just come in and watch the videos ever since I started this channel, and some that have been watching for, you know, 2 years before they ever contact me, or 6 years before they ever contact me. And that's fine. If you're one of those people that, you know, you're just coming in and watching the videos, thank you. Thank you to all of you for all of your support. Everybody have a wonderful, thrilling, peaceful, exciting, happy month. And if I don't see you here for a private reading or a private Reiki session, then I will see you back on the next video. Peace out, everyone.